Hello, this is Short Stories. I'm your host, Martin. Do you like The Lord of the Rings? If you said yes, then you'll enjoy today's story, which is based on the opera Siegfried by Richard Wagner. Siegfried is the third installment of the operatic epic The Ring of the Nibelungs. The Ring Cycle, as it is sometimes called, portrays the legend of the Nibelungenlied, on the operatic stage. It took 26 years for Wagner to complete the 4 installments of this magnificent work of musical art. For me, however, it took about 4 hours to write my short story version of just the 3rd installment. Perhaps I'll write the other installments for later videos. Enjoy! Vocabulary: blacksmith, blacksmith. The blacksmith made tools for all the farmers in the village. Captivate, captivate. The audience was captivated by the brilliant performance. Motherlode, motherlode. Saudi Arabia hit the motherlode when oil was discovered in 1938. Neat, neat, neat. I found a lucky penny. Pivotal, pivotal. The Battle of Midway was a pivotal battle in World War II. Second rate, second rate. Domingos makes second-rate pizza. You should order from Pizza Hut instead. Swagger, swagger. The wrestler swaggered into the ring. Treacherous, treacherous. Benedict Arnold was a treacherous military officer. The story. Thousands of years ago, there was a race of dwarfs called the Nibelungs. They lived under the ground and scurried about in search of shiny objects. One day they stumbled upon the Motherlode, the Rhinegold. The naiads who lived in the Rhine had buried their magical treasure under the river in order to keep it out of the hands of men. But they could not keep it out of the hands of the Nibelungs. One of the Nibelungs was a skillful craftsman. He promised to condense the looted gold into one magical ring. The craftsman's name was Albric, and his heart was as treacherous as his hands were skillful. He took the ring for himself and ran away. But before he could put it on and use its awesome power, a dragon named Fafnir killed him and took the ring back to his hoard deep in the mountains. Albric's brother, Mime, vowed to kill the dragon and take back the ring. But to do that, he would need a champion. Deep in the Black Forest, Mime was sweating profusely as he hammered a sword into shape. "This oughta do it," he said, congratulating himself. He called for Siegfried, who came bounding through the forest, and said, "What do you got for me today?" Mime showed him the sword and said, "Not even you could break this one." Siegfried gave it a couple of swings before smashing it on the anvil. Mime threw down his tongs and shouted, "That's the 6th sword you've broken! How are you going to kill Fafnir without a sword?" Siegfried shrugged and asked, "When are you going to make me a sword that can kill Fafnir?" Mime growled and said, "I've raised you since you were a baby. I've trained you in the arts of war. You ought to show me some more respect." Siegfried put his hands on his hips and replied, "I'll show you some respect when you reforge the sword my mother left for me." Mime gritted his teeth in rage and disappointment. Nothung was a magical sword that was passed down to Siegfried, but it had been broken in pieces by a powerful being. Mime was a second-rate blacksmith compared to his brother, so he was unable to reforge the sword. Siegfried turned and walked away, frustrated that he still did not have the weapon he needed to take on a dragon. That evening, as Mime was preparing dinner in his hut, he heard a knock at his door. He answered it and was surprised to see a hairy old man with one eye and a long staff. "Who are you?" asked Mime rudely. The old man took off his hat and said, "I am a wanderer in search of a warm meal. May I come in?" Mime frowned and said, "No freeloaders," before slamming the door in the old man's face. To Mime's annoyance, the old man knocked again. Mime tried to scare him away, but the old man insisted on coming in. "The rules of hospitality are dictated by divine law," intoned the old man. Mime growled and said, "I'll let you in if you answer 3 questions. The old man agreed and listened to Mime's 3 riddles. 1. What race lives under the earth? 2. What race dominates the surface world? 3. What race rules the sky? The old man gave his answers: the Nibelungs, the giants, and the gods. Mime grumbled and let him in. Quite reluctantly, Mime shared his meal with the old man. For a while, they ate in silence until the old man said, "I can help you get what you're looking for." Mime looked at him incredulously and replied, "How do you know what I'm looking for?" The old man took a bite and answered, "I know that you told Siegfried that you'd share the dragon's gold with him. But there is only one piece of gold that you really want: the ring." Mime grew angry and demanded that he leave, but the old man didn't budge. "I'll tell you how to get it if you answer my questions," he said. Mime was intrigued. He agreed and listened to the old man's 3 riddles. 1. What race is most beloved by Odin, but suffers greatly? 2. What sword can destroy Fafnir? 3. Who can repair that sword? Mime gave his answers to the first 2 questions: man and Nothung. Begrudgingly, he admitted that he couldn't answer the 3rd question. The old man leaned in close and whispered, "Only he who is without fear can reforge Nothung." Mime's eyes twinkled as he remembered Siegfried. "I knew that boy was special the day that I found him in his dying mother's arms," he said. Without saying more, the old man continued eating his dinner. Afterwards, he thanked his host and went on his way. The next evening, Siegfried returned to Mime's hut after a long day of bear hunting. "What butter knife have you prepared for me today?" he asked. "Nothing," replied Mime. "Then why did I bother coming here?" complained Siegfried. Mime explained that he had a new lesson to teach him. "Fear is a powerful tool. Today I will teach it to you, but first you must reforge the Nothung yourself. I will show you how." Siegfried clapped his hands and said, "Finally, you're useful for something." Siegfried and Mime worked through the night. The clanging of hammers on steel echoed through the dark forest. By sunrise, the sword was ready. "Let's give it a test," said Siegfried eagerly. He swung the sword at the anvil and cut it in half. "Ho ho! Now that's a sword," he declared. The two smiths then excitedly packed up their things and went out into the forest in the direction of Fafnir's cave. Siegfried and Mime arrived at the dragon's cave close to sunset. "Now you will learn fear," declared Mime. "Aren't you going to stay?" asked Siegfried as he watched Mime walk away. "I already know what fear is," shouted Mime as he dove into some bushes. Siegfried stood at the entrance to the cave, contemplating his next move. Should I go in or draw the dragon out? He wondered. As he stood there thinking, he heard a little bird in a tree sing its final song of the day. Siegfried thought it was such a lovely song that he tried to imitate it on his flute. That was all it took to wake the dragon. Fafnir came roaring out of the cave, spewing fire everywhere. Unfazed, Siegfried leaped into action. He blocked the flames with his shield and lunged at the monster with his magic sword. It was a ferocious battle, but in the end, Siegfried managed to win by driving Nothung into the dragon's chest. Wounded, the beast retreated into its cave, the sword still sticking out of its body. Siegfried followed and found Fafnir lying on top of his hoard of gold. Swaggering, Siegfried approached the dying dragon to retrieve his sword. As he got closer, he noticed the dragon clutching a small gold ring in its claws. "Why are you clutching such a tiny thing?" asked Siegfried. "You've got a mountain of gold. What makes this one treasure so important to you?" Fafnir, with his few remaining breaths, wheezed, "Beware the curse that this ring bears. It can grant one the power to rule the world, but it will cost you your life." With one last croak, the dragon was dead. Siegfried took the ring from the beast's claws. "Neat," he declared as he dropped it into his pocket. As he pulled Nothung from the dragon's chest, some of the beast's hot blood spilled onto his finger. "Ouch!" yelped the young hero as he sucked on his injured digit. This proved to be more pivotal than he realized. When he left the cave, Siegfried heard the same bird chirping, but this time he could understand it. "What did you say?" Siegfried asked the bird. "The dragon's two most valuable possessions are a ring and a magic helmet. You should keep them," chirped the bird. Siegfried was confused. "The dragon told me the ring was cursed," he said. The bird hopped from branch to branch excitedly and tweeted, "Who are you gonna trust? An evil dragon or a cute bird?" Siegfried shrugged his shoulders and went back inside the cave to retrieve the helmet. While Siegfried was fighting the dragon, Mime was busy. Using mushrooms that he had found in the forest, he brewed a poison drink for the young dragon slayer. "I'll kill him and take the ring for myself," chuckled the dwarf as he stirred the toxic liquid. When Siegfried emerged from the cave with the helmet, Mime was waiting for him. "Congratulations!" he shouted. Siegfried scoffed. "What for? You told me that Fafnir would teach me fear, but he wasn't very scary at all." Mime held out the cup and said, "A drink for the hero." Just as Siegfried was about to take a sip, he heard the bird chirp again. "Don't drink it! It's poison!" warned the bird. Siegfried threw down the cup and stabbed Mime in the gut. The dwarf died almost instantly. The moon was now rising in the night sky as Siegfried tried to find his way through the forest. "Follow me," tweeted the bird. "I'll show you where to go." Siegfried followed the bird through the darkness and up a steep mountain. The peak of this mountain was a column of rock which was surrounded by a mystical blue fire. Up there!" shouted the bird. Siegfried looked and saw, under the light of the full moon, the figure of a sleeping person on top of the column of rock. Boldly, Siegfried approached the ring of fire. Putting on his magic helmet, he whispered to himself, "No fear," and then stepped through the curtain of flames. Unharmed, he then proceeded to climb the rocky column. Once at the top of the column, Siegfried could see a person sleeping in full armor. The entire body was covered, including the head. Siegfried approached the sleeper quietly, but confidently. When he pulled off the sleeper's helmet, however, his heart skipped a beat. It was a beautiful woman. Siegfried, having lived in the forest with a dwarf his whole life, had never seen a human female before. He was instantly captivated. "She's so lovely," he whispered to himself. "I wonder if she will marry me." Suddenly, Siegfried felt his heart twitch. "What if she says no?" he thought. It was then that Siegfried learned what fear was. Siegfried sat anxiously on a nearby rock for some time, racking his brains over whether he should wake the sleeping woman or not. "Just kiss her already," yelled the bird. Siegfried approached the woman very cautiously and planted a light peck on her cheek. He then scurried away as the woman groaned and yawned. The sun was now rising, and Siegfried could see even more of her beauty in the warm morning glow. "Who are you?" she asked. Siegfried stuttered a response and sheepishly stepped forward. "I am Brunhilde," announced the armored woman, "and it has been foretold that I would be awakened by the greatest hero the world has ever seen." Siegfried blushed and said, "Who, me? I'm nobody." Then Brunhilde stepped closer and said, "If you are that hero, then I pledge my undying love to you." Siegfried, his whole face red, made an awkward attempt at a heroic pose and said, "I'm your guy." Brunhilde hugged Siegfried, and the two lovers sang a romantic song. Questions. Number 1. Why did Mime raise Siegfried? A. He felt sorry for him. B. He always wanted a son. C. He was Siegfried's godfather. D. He wanted Siegfried to kill the dragon. The answer is D. He wanted Siegfried to kill the dragon. Question 2. Why was Siegfried able to reforge the Nothung? A. He was a very skillful blacksmith. B. He watched a YouTube tutorial. C. He learned how to do it from his father. D. He had no fear. The answer is D. He had no fear. Question 3. Who was sleeping on top of the mountain? A. Siegfried. B. Mime. C. An armored woman. D. An old man. The answer is C. An armored woman. Question 4. How did Siegfried learn about fear? A. He fell in love. B. His mother died. C. He fought a dragon. D. He watched a YouTube tutorial. The answer is, of course, A. He fell in love.